Big 12 preseason media poll is out. I've got a hot take for you because that is Drake Toll locked on Big 12. My hot take, Drake, is that Arizona and UCF are going to win the same number of games. How do you react to that?
I think that UCF at 8 could be a school that finishes at 4. I think the Arizona at 5 could be a school that finishes at 8. I have a very strong opinion that Arizona in year 1 under a new regime and still keeping a good core of their roster together. T-Mac namely, I don't know if he is the big conversation. T-Mac may be the most explosive receiver coming into the Big 12 next year. I think that Arizona still has a whole lot more to prove than Utah under Kyle Whittingham, and that will be reflected in their record. Them having the same record as UCF is not that shocking to me because I think UCF, the recruiting hotbed, where they Gus Malzahn, a guy who has won national championships as an OC, been as a head coach, has KJ Jefferson, an SEC caliber quarterback that at one time felt like a top 3 arm or at least top 3 weapon in that league at the quarterback position, who fizzled out last year under Dan Enos. There's lore there that if he can get the best of KJ Jefferson out of him, he's a top 3 quarterback in a good QB class in the Big 12 this season. I like where UCF sits. They have, to me, a very high ceiling for where the Big 12 put them at 8. I think Texas Tech is kind of in the same range there with, they're at 9. They could finish at 4, and I wouldn't be shocked. Give me a yes. What was it, a C or no they used to do on give me a C for UCF and Arizona could very well finish with the same record. I can't push back on that.
Yeah, so I think this media poll is so interesting because you look at it and like Colorado is at 11, or UCF is at 8, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's ridiculous. And then you look at the teams that are ahead of them, and you're going, wait a minute. Who are you just like automatically putting X team in front? Like Texas Tech is lower than you would think for a team that has dark horse Big 12 championship aspirations, and I think realistically so. You have a young, talented quarterback with a now somewhat experienced head coach in that environment. You have that quarterback has starting experience, and this is going to be his first chance to take the reins for the entire season. And that's a lot different than what you have with a lot of young quarterbacks across the country where, Nico Iamaleava at Tennessee, for instance, or Jackson Arnold, they've played one game. Baron Morton has seen college football action. He's not going to be brand new to it. But then when you look at Texas Tech, and I like the transfer portal offseason that Texas Tech has had this year, I think they brought in some really, really nice pieces. I look at who's above and I'm like, well, wait a minute. Am I just automatically jumping them over Arizona? Am I automatically dropping down Iowa State? I don't know, kind of like Iowa State. I mean, goodness gracious, I almost feel trepid in saying anything bad about Iowa State, lest Josh Pate figure out that I said it and I get doxxed publicly on his show. So he wouldn't actually do that, at least I don't think. But that's where I come back to. This conference is the deepest in the country for its conference championship run. It's not the deepest for the number of playoff teams. I think it's a one-bid league. It's not the deepest for the number of top 10 capable programs or teams this year. But this conference championship race is the most open to me. And that was the second thing that I thought when I saw the Big 12 preseason media poll.
Yeah, here's something that I've been telling a lot of people, and I don't believe that I can overstate this. I know that you, Jim, in Des Moines really love your college football, and you love that Iowa is in the Big 10, and that you don't have to deal with the Big 12 like Iowa State does, point and laugh. Well, guess what? When you paid rent last week, when you bought that new TV because your old TV got struck by lightning and the warranty was out of whack, you didn't use the money that Iowa got for being in the Big 10. You don't get like, oh, wow, my school is going to a new conference. We're going to make way more money. If Oklahoma goes 7-5 this season, you didn't see a dime out of that, and your viewing experience was worse than it would have been going 11-1, going to Arlington and winning a Big 12 championship. That is what I, as a fan of college football, want. Now, us as analysts, we get to talk about the ins and outs, the TV deals, and the revenue. But if you are a casual viewer here and you're going, I'm an Arkansas fan, I'm a Mississippi State fan, we're in the SEC, sucks for you, your viewing experience going 5-7 sucks. I would rather be West Virginia with the idea you can go 8-4, 9-3, 10-2, and win any given weekend. Have a hyper-competitive conference. Now, as we know, parity does not sell. People do not watch these games. If Cincinnati somehow goes...
I do. I will be watching these games. You'll be watching these games.
I am the sicko that if we turn around in week... We'll call like week 10, and Arizona State's playing against week 11. Arizona State's playing BYU, and they're both 7-win teams at that point. Like, I have vested interest in that. I can't wait. Everybody else in the country is going, oh, Arizona State, BYU. They don't really care. But I'm the sicko that's signing up for like, oh, wow, which of these two teams could be last year's West Virginia? And for me, Spencer, what that does for this league is gives an entertaining product every weekend. Anyway, I could legitimately see West Virginia go out and beat a team of the caliber of a Utah or Oklahoma State by 15 one weekend, and the next weekend come out and lose to an Iowa State by 21. And you go, yeah, well, that's the Big 12. And I don't think that's a bad thing for fans of the Big 12.
I'm glad you brought up Oklahoma State, because I think them and Arizona are the two teams that, if I were to reshuffle, if they gave me a vote for the Big 12 preseason media poll, which they didn't, kind of hurtful, but that's okay. If I had one, those are two teams that I felt might be a touch high for different reasons. Arizona, new coaching staff and a roster that is not at the same level where it was a year ago, has a decent core, but has lost a lot of starters, and I don't know that I'm in love with what they've brought in, and I don't know what Brent Brennan can do against Power 4 head coaching. There are a lot of really, really good coaches in the Big 12. And then I look at Oklahoma State and incredibly high floor. I mean, them in Utah, you talk about high floor programs, like incapable of bottoming out. Those two teams, as long as those two head coaches are there, and the Kyle Whittingham news, we're not getting to that today, but that's a whole other ordeal. Oklahoma State with Alan Bowman at quarterback, though.
Yeah.
That was the other team. I felt okay. Maybe they would go down a couple slots, because this is, to me, the deepest quarterback conference in the country. And if you're rolling with Bowman there, I'm just like, I can't get behind you there. Like, I know they proved people wrong last year and played for the conference championship game. Yeah. And then in that game, we saw how far away they actually were from being a conference title contender.
I get it. We can't go play the quarterback battle where you go, well, Colorado's got a better quarterback than Oklahoma State. They must be a better team. Colorado has the best overall player in the Big 12 in Travis Hunter, because he makes up two positions and is a freak athlete, and possibly the best quarterback in the country in Shedeur Sanders this season. That doesn't make Colorado a Big 12 championship contender. But to me, it makes them more dangerous when you talk, where could that ceiling be if those two guys get, how much of an impact can they make in the Big 12? Alan Bowman is not that. He took a hiatus from college football for 2 years to go be an on-field coach at Michigan. He was never a quarterback at Michigan. He just stood there with a helmet and the clipboard and helped anybody else who was actually the quarterback at Michigan.
His mastery of offensive schemes and X's and O's has to be higher than any other quarterback, and that's a non-zero part of playing the position. I'll grant him that.
It's true. And age is a factor here for Bowman, who's 27 now. And the idea of bringing him in Oklahoma State was not for him to start. It was, we've got three guys who are going to rotate until we get our ish rocked by South Alabama, and then we probably got to figure this one out. They elect Bowman quarterback, and he's just safe. He's the safe option. He's like the Big 12's version of A.J. McCarron, where you're like, yeah, he's not going to blow you away. He's just kind of going to go out there and do. And maybe he'll be a really good asset in the UFL one day. That seems like Alan Bowman's career path here.
Can we pick a quarterback
that's what won a national championship? He's the Big 12, the Big 12 version of the truck stop A.J. McCarron. It's Alan Bowman.
I mean, I still watched A.J. McCarron in college growing up and thought, yeah, I'd take him as my team's backup quarterback. I do not feel that way about Alan Bowman.
So the teams that are around Oklahoma State, from Cam Rising to Avery Johnson, and from Fafita to Daniels to even Rocco Becht or Garrett Green or KJ Jefferson or Baron Morton, or that list kind of goes on.
It's loaded. It's so good.
Yeah. Even Garrett Green's freaking solid. And then you go to Colorado with Shedeur Sanders at 11. Baylor's got Daquan Finn, who was the MAC Player of the Year and start out at the Manning thing or whatever they did. Like, I still think I take Daquan Finn based off his film than, run-of-the-mill Alan Bowman. And maybe I'm not giving Alan Bowman enough credit here. Sorry, Oklahoma State. But if your quarterback determines your ceiling, and sometimes that's the case in a deep quarterback conference, don't like that for the Cowboys.
I think your quarterback can both set your floor. In the case of Arizona, it can also limit your ceiling in the case of Oklahoma State. Yep. So, do you have a 10-second reaction to Colorado being 11th?
Good. They're not better than TCU, not better than Texas Tech, and they are better than Baylor, Cincinnati, Houston. Cool.
11th. I think it's a little bit low. Drake Toll locked on
Whoa,
Big
whoa.
12.
You're 10 seconds. Who you going to put above? TCU, Texas Tech?
TCU, yes. Yeah, probably just TCU.
Yeah, all right. 10. Good for you. Oh, you got him. Wow, good thing you didn't vote, man. Really want to change things.
Well, I might have had some other teams. I might have had some other teams lower,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but UCF was ahead of them too, right?
Yeah,
You could vote Colorado ahead of UCF. I wouldn't think it's necessarily insane or crazy. Kind of like every segment we've ever done together.
Revoke your credentials. That's fine.
Okay, well, I'd have to get a credential first. Drake Toll locked on Big 12. Appreciate it.